Maybe it was from like running away from someone barefoot, looking like an absolute weirdo. But anyway, it was like Christmas had come early to her because they had been doing muck spreading and the whole road was covered in muck. My life has never flashed before my eyes so many times. I don't know if it's because... Hello everybody and welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. Before we begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Redpost. Redpost is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, but they also ship all over the world. Last episode, I talked a little bit about the Redpost app, but I forgot to tell you that actually with the Redpost app, if you haven't downloaded it yet, go and download it, because once you've downloaded it, your first purchase on the app, you get 5% off. So if you're looking for a new helmet, if you're looking for that new pair of boots, be sure to go and buy it on the Redpost app. But anyway, let's get straight into today's episode. I've done quite a bit actually this week. I feel like it's that time of year where it's kind of like mid-October and everyone's kind of getting prepared, getting excited for Halloween. And I think actually, I tell you what, I've had a little idea. I feel like next week I should do like a horse horror story kind of episode for Halloween. I feel like that could be really fun. I could tell you some of the hairier or scarier moments in my sort of equestrian career. But anyway, going back to what we're talking about today. So recently I actually filmed a video with Mickey dressing him up for Halloween, which when me and my dad came up with this kind of idea together, we were wetting ourselves. We were cry laughing, thinking, oh my goodness, Mickey is going to look ridiculous. So anyway, some of you might have known that I filmed a video on my channel of me dressing up Mickey as a Barbie pony to celebrate the Barbie movie and all that kind of stuff, and that video did way better than I was expecting. It's way over 1 million views now, so thank you everybody for all the love and support on that video. You seem to really enjoy it, seeing Mickey with his sort of pink mane and all that kind of stuff. So we thought, well, we definitely need to do another dress up video for Halloween, but who am I going to dress up as? And actually in the Barbie video, quite a lot of you very kindly said that I look like Margot Robbie, which I feel like is the biggest compliment ever. I personally don't see it at all, so I thought, is there some sort of spooky kind of Halloween kind of gritty film that she's in that I could dress up as her again? Oh yes, we have. I'm not going to say the name because I don't know if the podcast will get demonetized if I say it, but basically I'm going to go as Harley Quinn and Mickey is going to go as the Joker, and we just thought it's got out of all the horses, it's got to be Mickey as the Joker. Yeah. So anyway, that video, hopefully, if you're watching the podcast the weekend that this comes out, it will be hopefully up next Friday. So that is very exciting. This week's video is also a wild one. I feel like this time of year is when I've stored up all the videos over the year, all the like good content I filmed over the summer, and then autumn, winter, when everyone's indoors a little bit more, watching like TV and stuff like that a bit more, I'm like, bam, time for all the good content. So don't worry, lots of cool videos coming soon. But yeah, I did a 24 hours in a horse box video, and that one was pretty wild. You'll just have to watch it to know what I mean, but that one, like, that was on a whole different level. So anyway, yeah, dressing Mickey up for Halloween. So I got the pony paint as normal, the non-toxic water, chalk, wash out, easy, sensitive baby skin kind of stuff that I've used on Mickey multiple times before. Like, Mickey does have sensitive skin, but he's never had a reaction. Obviously, the first time I used it, I did a little patch test and all that kind of stuff, and it washes out really well. But anyway, so Mickey ended up being the Joker, and I had to be quite careful because obviously the Joker has the big kind of red kind of mouth / smile where, I don't know, his mouth's been slashed or something like that. So anyway, what I had to do was I obviously didn't put the red pony paint on his mouth because I didn't want him to, like, I know it's non-toxic and all that kind of stuff, and it's probably not good for him to eat it, and he is known as Licky Mickey. So what I did was I kind of put it like as a red moustache, and you know what, it didn't end up looking too awful. Again, I put like black around his eyes, and I didn't like put the black that close to his eyes again because, again, washing it out, I didn't want it to get in his eyes or anything like that. So it was very much like, we have like a saying on the channel where we're always like horse first, but also I did a green mane on him, and when I was washing it out, I was in a bit of a rush. I was like, okay, it's fine, I'll wash him tomorrow. And my friend Lydia came up to help us do some filming the next day, and she was like, Esme, am I going mad? Are my eyes not working? But is Mickey slightly green? And I feel like normally if you saw a horse that was slightly green, you would think, oh, they've just been, rolling in the field in the grass. Now, Mickey and Duke's Field, if you've seen it a lot on the channel, you'll know that their paddock it's barren. It's just like a mud dust bowl, which is the way it should be. And the way World Horse Welfare, like, this is really good for Duke. There should be like barely any grass, because both boys are very prone to getting laminitis, which is basically I'm not a vet, so I can't tell you like exactly everything about it, but basically it's when horses have too much sugar on the proteins in the grass, and it can cause a lot of different issues, especially like with their hooves and them going lame and that kind of stuff. But anyway, so yeah, going back to that, so I was like, no, Mickey was the Joker yesterday, so that is why he's still got a tiny little green tint to him, so don't worry, it's all been washed off now. Like, I washed it the first time and then I just gave him a second shampoo and now it's all out. So anyway, that was quite funny. And also I proper like dressed up when I was Harley Quinn and did like all the makeup, everything. I ended up finding, like, I was like, I don't really want to order too much stuff for this, so I managed to actually like make the t-shirt myself and do a lot of stuff myself. And I managed to find, because our village, our family, like, we've always, like, I feel like in the UK we don't have much of a Halloween culture. Like, that is all America. Like, you guys in the US, when you do Halloween, you do it right. Like, you go to the nines, is that the saying? You guys go out there. But in the UK, everyone's like a little bit more half-hearted about it, so it's just a little bit more like everyone, like, you don't like Halloween, like there are a few kids that go trick-or-treating and that's kind of it. Like, people don't really, like, I feel like I've seen videos online and people will literally, like, if Halloween's on like a school day in like their high school, they will like dress up and stuff like that. You would not have that in the UK, I tell you that. But anyway, our village was always very like big into Halloween. I don't know why, just came about. So I think I talked about it in like a previous podcast, that we'd always have a Halloween party and go trick-or-treating in the village and then go down to the pub and that kind of thing. So I managed to find an old like Halloween box in the attic. I found this Halloween makeup. It was like white kind of face paint and it was so crusty. I think it must have been over 10 years old, and when I was like, oh, I should have ordered some new one. Like, normally with makeup they say things like that, especially as you have to kind of like damp it with a wet sponge as well. I'd say like over a year, like that's nasty. Like, you probably need to like throw that out. Like, that is contaminated or probably has some sort of mold or something growing on it. Anyway, I used it on my face and luckily I didn't break out in spots or anything, or a rash or anything like that, so I was all right. I do have quite sensitive skin, but for some reason I was all right with that. So obviously it wasn't as disgusting and crusty as I thought. But anyway, so I used that on my face. I can't lie, for someone who doesn't dress up very often, like I did say in the video, like, if you're looking for someone who is a professional cosplayer or a professional like dresser-upper, this is not the video for you. This is like a gal and her horse having some fun coming up to Halloween. So anyway, yeah, I can't lie, I think I did a good job. I was worried about it not washing out my hair, so I did use stunt hair in the end, but I don't want to spoil the video too much. But that's like a little sum up of what I've been up to this week. I feel like there are some weeks where my job's quite normal, like I'm just sitting at a desk editing things, answering emails, the boring admin, running a business kind of stuff. And then there are some weeks where, for like the horse box video, I'm behind a green screen with a horse mask on, wearing like a going out sparkly outfit, dancing. So yeah, my job is very varied, and I do feel bad for my parents sometimes, because when people ask, oh, what's your daughter Esme doing nowadays, and they have to try and explain that I dress up as characters with my horse sometimes I'm like dancing behind a green screen with a horse head on, like that's I think, yeah, it's I don't have a normal job, that is for sure. I don't have a normal life, but anyway, so yeah, luckily I was thinking, God, if like the postman comes or something like that, I mean, we've already, like, the postman's already like had some shock seeing me before, if you listen to that episode when I was having a massage, my sports like treatment. But yeah, like I think my postman does understand. Like my postman does know that I do YouTube and social media and everything as my job, because when I started getting fan mail coming to the house through my PO box, my parents did have to explain why I was getting so many letters with drawings of horses and stickers on each day. So yeah. What else have I been up to lately? Let's have a little look at my list on my phone. I feel like I get up to so much that like sometimes you just forget what you've gotten up to. Like I feel like my short-term memory is so bad. Like people be like, oh, what did you get up to this weekend? And I'll literally have to check my calendar to see what I've done. What else? Oh, talking about Halloween. I feel like this has been a very Halloween-y kind of like episode, actually. I actually went on a ghost walk the other day with some friends, which is a little bit different. I feel like most of the time with things like ghost stories, I feel like I do like enjoy, I love spooky stuff like that, but also part of me like always is a little bit on the cynical side, and I'm like, I'm just like, oh, there's probably like a reasonable explanation for all of these different things. So we went for a ghost walk around like a little seaside town near us, and the best way to describe it was a bit like the London Dungeons, but it was just like one guy doing it, and there was a big group of us, and we're like, oh, this would be like a fun thing to do on like a weekday evening. And I am such a jumpy person. Like I will scream at anything. I'm the worst person to take around like a haunted house, because you'll probably have like some ear problems afterwards with how loud I scream. But anyway, we were doing the ghost walk, and obviously it's just like, you know, it's not like around a haunted house or anything, it's just around this like old seaside town, and there were a lot of stories about like smuggling and that kind of thing, which is quite interesting. But anyway, he was telling this like spooky story, and the funniest thing is there was this Tesco's van that was behind us, and the Tesco's delivery driver just suddenly like shut the back of the van, like, and like there was like a loud bang, and I screamed so loudly, and it was so embarrassing in front of all my friends and the guy as well. And yeah, so that was interesting. And also so there was like, obviously like in the UK, compared to other countries, especially compared to like America, we have a lot of very, very old buildings. Like some of the old buildings that he was like showing us and things as we walked around the town, like one of them looked like it was honestly going to fall down. There was one of them which was really interesting, which was called like Smuggler's Cottage, and apparently there was like this, like, I'm just telling some of the stories because I love this like history stuff. I find it really fascinating. Apparently there's like a little, like a tiny weeny little window, which you'd normally think like, well, that is a bit pointless, why would you have a window that small? Apparently that side faces the sea, and they would light a candle if it was safe for the people to bring in the smuggling goods, and they would put the candle out if maybe the authorities were in the area or that kind of thing, and it wasn't safe to smuggle the goods into the town or into the port kind of thing. So that was quite cool. And also that house had such a high chimney for such a small cottage, and apparently they would like put some of the goods up the chimney, which is quite interesting. And apparently there was like a trapdoor in that cottage as well that would go to like other safe houses around, so if the authorities did come, then people could hide and stuff like that. So I'd love like that kind of like history stuff. I find that really fascinating. There are a few like other stories which I won't say because I don't know how like ghost stories, some people get freaked out by them or that kind of thing, and some of them were a little bit more on the gruesome side. And this is a family friendly podcast, you know, most of the time. Like I'm not going to go into any like nitty gritty details, but there was one where there was a ghost horse as well, and that does make me think, like, are there actually ghost animals? Because you always hear ghost stories about actual people, but you never hear them like about animals. One of them actually, yeah, that you told us was that there was a ghost horse, and apparently they were moving some of the smuggled goods from the seaside town up to London or up to a big city or something like that. And apparently they went across the marshes and they were never seen again. There was this fog that came in, and he was like, yeah, if you ever have fog that comes towards you, don't go in it, because you could get lost forever. So that was one of the other stories. There were other stories, like there was one where apparently like somebody died in a house and you could still hear like the scratches in the house sometimes and things like that, which my cynical brain would be like, there's probably rats. Like I had rats in my loft roof once when I used to sleep in my loft, when that used to be my bedroom, and to be fair, it does make quite a horrible like scratching out noise. Like it can be quite creepy, especially if it wakes you up in the night. You just wake up to this scratching screeching sound, but he was saying, oh, it's the ghost trying to escape and things like that. But I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, I feel like everyone always has like one, or I don't know, I feel like if somebody asked me, do I have any ghost stories, I only kind of have one, but I also have a rational explanation behind this as well. So there was one night I was driving back home from my friend's house, and it was late at night, and it's my normal, it was this, they lived in the same town that I went to college, so this was my normal kind of commute. I know the area really well, and I was just like driving along. It was pitch black at night. It was probably about midnight kind of when I was driving home. And anyway, so, which was a very late night for me, I've got to say. I don't normally stay out late. And I was starting to enter one of the villages. And obviously, like, you know, you slow down when you go into the villages, like the speed limit changes and that kind of thing. I wasn't on a country lane anymore. So I was slowing down, and I saw this guy run like in front of my car, or like into the road. And obviously, like, I'm a safe driver, I was going the speed limit, so obviously it wasn't like a, oh my gosh, I need to hit on the brakes, emergency stop. But I started like slowing down, being like, why is this guy just like, he was like running across the road, not like running, like he didn't just like stand in the middle of the road like, hey. And it was so weird because he was, I'm really bad with like being like 100 yards or that kind of thing, but he wasn't like really far away, but he was far away enough that I didn't need to slam on my brakes, but I did like start slowing down. And then as I went by, he just wasn't there. Like, I don't know if maybe there was a footpath up there and he just like ran up to the footpath, but it looks like it's just normally hedge there. So part of me is like, that could have been a ghost, because I feel like he just disappeared. I don't know where he went. Like, but then also part of me, it could have been a guy. And part of me also, my friend who's a nurse was saying, apparently this is quite common. If you're tired and you're like driving or you're doing something and you need to keep yourself awake, often you like can see people. She said that happened to her once when she was really tired driving on like a motorway, and she thought like she saw a person in front of her car, and that like just like woke her up or woke her brain up. So it's weird, like, I don't know. I promise I wasn't like on anything or anything like that. Like, it sounds like such a weird story. So I probably think it was just a guy crossing the road and probably like went up a footpath somewhere up there or something. But the thing that makes it really creepy is that I remember when I was a kid, because obviously where I went to college was also where I went to school, and I remember there was a car accident literally at that corner or at that like similar place. So I'm thinking, if it was a ghost, it could have been that it was the ghost of somebody maybe that was in that car accident, or it could have been that there was just a ghost there that appears sometimes, and that was why the people had the car crash. You never know. But I don't want to talk about insensitive stuff like that. Like, obviously, it was whatever was going on there. You never wish anyone to end up in a car accident or anything like that. But anyway, moving swiftly on. That is my ghost story of the night. I feel like this has turned into way more of like a Halloween episode than I was expecting. So there we go. Let's move on to something a little bit less Halloween-y. What else have I been up to? Oh, I've been to Horse of the Year show. I feel like Horse of the Year show is always like, it rolls around, it's coming to like October, it's coming to Halloween, so it's still kind of seasonal, I guess. Although Hoys I don't think they really do anything with like pumpkins or stuff like that. But anyway, I had a great time. I woke up at very early o'clock in the morning. I think it was about 4:30, 4 a.m. that I was picked up. 3? Was it 3? Oh, I'm so disorientated in my brain of basically I'm so used to like, I don't know, does anybody else have it when they have to wake up really early in the morning that their body just like keeps randomly waking themselves up in the middle of the night because you're like, oh, I need to get up and get ready for this thing. Oh, no, it's not the morning yet. Like, I was talking to my hairdresser about this, and she was saying how she had that once. She had like her body just woke her up because she needed to be early up the next day, and she like took a shower like just automatically like getting ready for the day, and she looked at her clock and it was like 1 a.m. and she didn't realise, she thought it was just in the morning. So I haven't done that before. I've always checked my clock if I've woken up like in the morning, but sometimes my body will just wake me up like 5 minutes before my alarm, and it will be like a 3 a.m, 4 a.m start, and it's like the weirdest thing. So anyway, that was an early start, but sometimes I do find it easier waking up at like 3 in the morning than waking up at like 6 in the morning. I don't know. I think it's because I often have something on and like my brain's in like adrenaline rush, let's go, I need to be prepared for this thing that I'm doing, or I need to get there in time and I can't be late. But yeah, so I, slept in the car all the way. That's my, obviously I wasn't driving, just to put that out there. But anyway, so my normal kind of very glamorous way of getting ready for a horse show is waking up. I always wake up 5 minutes before we get to the service station as well, going to a service station, either having a Starbucks or a Costa for my breakfast, and then getting changed either in the service station toilets, or this time it was in the back of the car. Trying to put tights on in the back of the car is a bit of a struggle, but I feel like I've kind of got a bit of a knack to it now. And then, arrived at Hoy's at like 8:30. I felt really bad because basically they have lots of different entrances, and the entrance that's like the press entrance before 9 a.m, they use it for the general public to get through. And I was like, I felt really bad because we kind of had to go to the front of the line being like, look, this girl needs to like get in and do some filming, and like she works here kind of thing, like it's all right if we skip the queue, which I feel bad because I always like, because I always feel like it's people who feel better than other people that skip queues, but I really did need to like be there in time. If not, I was going to miss my meet and greet. My meet and greet started at 9, so I felt really bad having to like go in front of people in the queue. But anyway, got there in time, had about 15 minutes to take photos with some of the sponsors at their stands there that were like selling stuff at the show in the shopping area, and then ran to my meet and greet, got there in time, and then did an hour's meet and greet, had an hour's break, did another hour's meet and greet, then had some lunch and watched a little bit of the show, and then had like a 2-hour meet and greet to finish off the day. So I feel like this year was the first year at Hoy's where they've just been like, nah, you are not allowed in the shopping area, you are banned, like security are not gonna let that pass. So it was all right because I just watched the show really. So that felt a little. I mean, there are some shows where I'm not allowed in the shopping areas anyway. But yeah, so it was very busy. It was my first time I think being at Hoy's on a Saturday as well. But my favourite thing at Hoy's is the mounted games. I don't know what it is. Every time I watch the mounted games, I get a little bit emotional. Like I feel like I'm about to cry. I don't know why. Like obviously I didn't cry because that would be a bit weird. Like why is this girl just randomly crying? But I think it's because I used to do mounted games and it was like one of my favourite disciplines, and I used to do it on Mickey, and I know what it's like to have that friendship and being in a team together and cheering each other on. It was some of like, I don't know, my highlights of my equestrian kind of pony club days. Like I just found it so much fun, and like how incredible it must feel for those kids to have got to Hoy's and be there with their pony and be there with their friends as well, and all working together, and the adrenaline rush of trying to like do a pony club proud, and I don't know, all that kind of stuff as well. Like I don't know, it just gets to me. I like watching any of the classes, like show jumping, the heavy horses, that could, yeah, no emotions. Well, obviously I do have emotions, but you know what I mean, like I don't get emotional, but it's just the amount of games every year as well. For the last like 2-3 years that I've been to Hoy's, it happens every time. I just feel like, oh my gosh, I've got like all these emotions going over me. But yeah, it was really lovely seeing. At Hoy's every year they always have like a college that do of all the like kind of equine girls and boys as well that do like basically like the arena parties, like put the fences up and that kind of thing. And anyway, there was a big group of girls that came over and said hello to me, which was really lovely, and we took a big group photo as well, so that was really nice. But yeah, that was really my time at Hoy's. Oh wait, it's not an Esme's Country Life podcast without one embarrassing story. Oh, my dad, I can just see him laughing in the background, proper chuckling. He knows what's coming. So anyway, at the end of Hoy's, I was done. I'd done like 4 or 5 hours of talking to people all day. And as an introvert, like, don't get me wrong, I love chatting to people. Like, I literally do a podcast where I talk for like 45 minutes nonstop. But it also exhausts me, and I do find it quite tiring. So I'd been walking around in like tights and a skirt and a jacket and a shirt and heels all day, and the first thing I did when I got into the car was like, okay, I'm gonna change, like in the back of the car, don't worry, didn't flash anybody this time, all good. So I changed into like my leggings and like a sweatshirt, and also because I've been walking all day and been on my feet, I was like, I'm letting the dogs out, I'm letting my toes out. So I was completely barefoot, no socks, no shoes, nothing. And just as we were about to leave, my dad was like, I've got a long drive back. Do you mind if we go through the Starbucks drive-thru and get a drink? I was like, yeah, sure. So we had like a bit of rubbish in the car from our breakfast this morning. And obviously I was in the passenger seat. So he was like, do you mind if you just like put that stuff in the bin? So anyway, opened up the car door. There was the bin on the side of the road, jumped out, barefoot, like I was exhausted. You know when you just get to the stage where like I'm done, I'm tired, I don't care, I'm not even gonna put my shoes on. Ran out, put like this stuff in the bin, and then just as I was running back to the car barefoot, like no bra as well, just in like a sweatshirt, I heard this family or like this child or somebody shout, oh my gosh, is that This Esme? Just as I was like getting in the car and closing the door. And normally I'm very much like, a lot of the time, I think, I can't remember what I did. I think I like from inside the car waved and like my dad was already like driving off. But a lot of the time, if I do hear you, I will turn around and be like, hi, yeah, do you want to get a photo? That kind of thing. But I'd had like 5 hours of meeting people all day and I was just like, I'm barefoot, like no bra, nothing, like this is not the time I'm ready to sleep. So anyway, they were quite far away, so it wasn't like, and also I was like, I can't just go and walk over to them barefoot, like I'm gonna look like an absolute weirdo. And to be fair, I had done like a whole day of meet and greets and that kind of thing, so if they were like proper diehard fans, I probably would have already seen them that day. But anyway, so I waved from the window and they waved back, but it was just so embarrassing. Like I was like, oh, now I understand why like celebrities and things like get like awful photos. Like imagine, like I'm obviously no way at all that level of fame or anything like that. I would never want that level of fame either, to have like the paparazzi following you. But you can imagine, like you just think, oh, I'm just going to put my bins out, and then someone gets you. But anyway, that is my embarrassing story of Hoys. So there we go. What else? Oh yeah, and then we went through the Starbucks drive-through, and I was so happy because I don't know if I talked about this recently on the podcast or not, but I've kind of given up coffee. I have probably I kind of stopped in January, and I've probably had about 4 or 5 coffees in the whole year so far, which for someone who used to have 2 coffees a day, I'd say that's pretty good. I'm definitely more of like a tea drinker now, which I know still has caffeine, but I only have like 1 tea a day. And if you want to know how I like my cup of tea, I like it, this is such a British conversation, I'm so sorry. I like to have it kind of like not too milky, so it's white, because if you like it like that, you are a weirdo. But also I like it so it's not too like watery either, like a good like biscuit colour, I'd say, with 1 teaspoon of sugar. I used to be a no sugar person, but I've fallen victim. I'm now a 1 sugar person, but there are some people that'll have like 3 sugars, and I'm like, how on earth? Like that must be so sweet. But I guess my mum, when I started drinking tea, was very much like, no, you don't need any sugar, like you're sweet enough, that kind of thing. Like it's not very good for your teeth and that kind of thing. But no, I do. I think it was after I started having bubble tea. I feel like bubble tea is just that bit sweeter, and I'm like, it just tastes a lot better with just one spoon of sugar. So there we go. That is how I like my cup of tea. But anyway, when we got to Starbucks, my go-to drink, if you're wondering, at the moment is a cool lime refresher. Like in the summer, that is so good. Or I know it does still have caffeine in, but it's a lot less than coffee. I do really like oh my gosh, what's it called? Can you remember what my Starbucks thing is called? Chai latte, that's it. I love an iced chai latte. Like I'm an iced drink person. I think I just get frustrated with hot drinks because you get it and you really want to drink it, but you have to wait like a good 5-10 minutes for it to cool down, and I do not have time for that, because what will happen is I'll forget about it and then I'll come back to it and then it'll be cold, and I might as well have just had an iced drink. Like even in the winter, I just feel like, especially like, I just find them more refreshing as well if you really like, you're really thirsty. And I'm one of those people that I just drink a lot of water, drink a lot of liquid, so, and I get quite thirsty quite often. So anyway, a cool lime refresher is my go-to, and the guy at Starbucks felt like he was teasing me, because he was like, oh, I don't know if that's on the menu anymore, and he was like, oh yeah it is, oh wait no it's not, and then he was like, it was on the menu in the time. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go all out, have a big one. And yeah, that was And actually, I was quite chatty. I don't know why. I was quite chatty on my drive home. Normally, I fall asleep and my dad is like, you are the worst company ever. Like, you just fall asleep. I'm driving here on my own. And then it got to the stage where I was just like chatting away to him. I don't know why. I think maybe I still had that post-meetup chatty kind of adrenaline rush, like just chatting me. Maybe it was from like running away from someone barefoot, looking like an absolute weirdo. But anyway, I was very awake and we were chatting and then got to the stage. My dad was like, look, Esme, I know we've been chatting for a while, but I really want to listen to my podcast. Like, do you want to have a nap? So I went to sleep in the end, but that was quite funny. So yeah, that was my experience at Hoy's. What other funny things have happened recently? I went for a hack the other day. I was on Joey. My dad took Ruby, my boyfriend's dog, because my boyfriend was at work, so we were looking after her, that day. And because I think we have like Ruby like once or twice a week now, which is quite like, which I love. It's like having a dog, but you can just give the dog back at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, so a little bit less responsibility. So he took Ruby on a hack, and Ruby, as a Labrador, this is probably quite gross, but she likes eating anything. And one of the things that she loves eating is poo. She gets so excited by it. She does know now not to eat it. Like when she sees poo when we're on a walk, we go leave it, and she does leave it now. And she knows she gets a treat rather than having to eat the poo. So she's always looking out for poo. And anyway, we took her for a walk. The second half of the walk, so the first half was on the bridle path, the second half was on the road. And when we were on the road, oh my goodness, it was like Christmas had come early to her, because they had been doing muck spreading and the whole road was covered in muck. And oh my gosh, she was sniffing. She was so excited. It was like the best thing ever. So that's a little funny thing that happened on our walk the other day. So the last thing I thought I would chat to you guys in this episode is how Joey and I's jumping has been going. So we've done a few like arena hires and lessons and that kind of thing. And I thought, you know what, I will join my friend. She's having a jumping lesson at her yard. So I'll join her. I'll take Joey along in the horse box, you know, see what he's like. It'll be fun. Might be interesting having a lesson with someone new. Oh my goodness. My life has never flashed before my eyes so many times. I don't know if it's because he was in a bigger arena than usual, because normally when I have my jumping lessons with Felicity, like we're in a little indoor, like this was like a big outdoor arena, big open windy day as well. I don't know if it's because it was with my friend's horse as well, so, and she's a mare, and maybe he was like showing off a little bit, like, look what I can do. Or I think the actual result is he was just so excited. I mean, if you've been like listening to his update since he's like had box rest last winter and his injury and rehab and that kind of thing, like I have been jumping him since he's been back in action, but it's been like something that I've taken very slow and steady. We haven't really been doing like many like big courses yet and that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, it's time. We need to get back, like properly back into show jumping again. And Joey, oh my gosh, yeah, you can't take the jump out of a show jumper. He was so excited. It was like, I am back to my passion now. So yeah, basically there were quite a few times where I was cantering him around and he would just putting it out there. Regularly he has his teeth done. Regularly he sees not one but two different physios. He also has his saddle checked regularly. He was recently checked by a vet when he had his vaccinations and that kind of thing. So he has his hooves done regularly by a farrier. Like, so that it definitely wasn't like a pain related response. It was definitely behavioral. But he was just so excited. He was squealing. He was just, yeah, I was like riding a kangaroo. I felt like I was in Texas on the radio a few times. But yeah, there was one stage, he put his back legs so high up in the air after a jump, because he was so excited and launched himself. His tail went up and hit the back of my head on my helmet. And I was like, oh my goodness, Joseph, what is this? Anyway, by the end of the session, sorry, I've got loads of hiccups today. By the end of the session, he calmed down so much more and was really good. Like, we did a clear round, nice, relaxed course, but it honestly felt like I was having to learn how to ride a new horse, because obviously when you have a horse that's really forward, really excited, is doing a lot of well, I say a lot of bucking. He probably did like a big buck about 3 times. But you know, when they just like speed up a little bit more and you feel like, oh, I feel like he's going to do it again. Like you have that anticipation. It's almost like, I don't know, you have like flashbacks. But anyway, I kind of basically, I learned a lot in that lesson, that is for sure. But I also learned that when you're riding a horse that's really forward and you feel a little bit out of control, you still do have to have your leg on going into the fences, because what would happen is like Joey would zoom off and I felt like he was going to do a bucking, and I was like, okay, let's get the boy back, like let's go for a little bit more collected canter, slow it up a little bit kind of thing. But also I still needed to have my leg on for those fences, because he still needed that forward energy and that forward kind of thinking going into the jumps. So it was a little bit like, okay, slow, and then like 3 or 4 strides to the fence, be like, okay, legs on, let's go, like log onto the fence, let's go. But he had so much fun. He was locking on to all the fences, taking me to them. It, like, when he was going nicely, he felt incredible. It was just at the beginning where I was like, what have I got myself into? Joey, why are you being so wild? But we got there at the end. I stayed on, no falling off happened. But yeah, there we go. That was, so yeah, I don't know if it's because we're going into autumn. I feel like when the weather gets a little bit colder and a little bit windier, and I feel like horses just have a little bit more spice in them, a little bit more excitedness. But yeah, so if you are a horse owner, just beware. We're going into winter, we're going into the hard times, we're going into the speedy, more spooky, wild bucking times. So yeah. But there we go. He felt like, my instructor was like, girl, he is looking like good over those fences. Like, he's giving you that air time. He's got a proper spring on him. Like, this horse can jump. It's just making sure it's a little bit more controlled between the fences. So I think I'm going to finish off today's podcast there. I feel like we've had a real old like chat about everything, really. We've had ghost stories, we've had Halloween dress up, talking about that. We've had chatting about hoys. We've talked about my scarier moments on a horse. And yeah, hopefully next week I will think of some horsey horror stories. Maybe I'll have to ask you guys on like a story or something, like what are your horsey hairier stories, so I can feel better about myself about some of the things that I'll be talking about next week. But anyway, really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much again to Redpost for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to check out the app, or you can go to redpostequestrian.co.uk. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.